Hi everyone. We are on to our third day of pH calculations, probably the easiest of the 3 days. So it's going to build on what we've done the last 2 days with pH and then with pOH. The big, most important part of today's lesson is this last part of what we talked about yesterday. Okay, so if we look at our pH and our pOH relation, okay, when pH is 7, pOH is 7, they're equal to each other at that point. If we keep that in mind, then we get this really, really important rule that says that pH plus pOH is equal to 14, okay? So that's super, super important. We're going to use that today in our calculations. What that allows us to do is if we can calculate a pH, we can then use this rule to figure out what pOH is, which is kind of useful, but what's really useful is if we can calculate a pOH of a base, then we can figure out what that means on the pH scale. So this is where it's really important. For example, if you're doing water testing and you need to report a pH of a certain water sample, but you're testing it for a base and you measure a pOH, you want to be able to report that in terms of pH to your boss because that's what they're asking for. So that's where this calculation is going to come into play. Let me show you how it works. So what I have right here is our pH calculations from the first day. All I'm going to add to it is this rule that we just said. So if I know that the pH is 8.33, I can do that little math step where I take 14 minus 8.33, which will give me my pOH, because remember, pH plus pOH gives me 14. So if I do that, I put it into my handy dandy calculator. 14 minus 8.33. Okay. In this case, I get a pOH value of 5.67. Okay. Again, I can use the same process down here. Here I have a pH of 8. So 14 minus 8 is going to give me my pOH value, which in this case is going to be 6. Okay. So there are 2 examples of going from pH to pOH. We said that's probably a little less useful, but we can do it. Here's the really useful part is here are yesterday's pOH calculations. Okay. If we want to report these as pH calculations, we just have to do the same thing. So if I take 14 minus 8.7, which was the pOH I calculated, this is going to give me my pH value, which is what most people talk about. So, handy dandy calculator, 14 minus 8.7 gives me 5.3. So if something has a pH of 5.3, remember, that's less than 7, so that is acidic, which is what we figured out yesterday with the pOH, but more people are going to recognize a pH value, so usually that's what you're going to report, especially if you're using this as part of your job. Down here at the bottom, one more example. We said yesterday with our pOH value that this was basic. Now we can convert it into a pH value. So we're going to take 14 minus 5.6, which will give me my pH. Okay. 14 minus 5.6 gives me 8.4 as my pH value, which again confirms what we talked about yesterday, that this is a basic solution. So like I said yesterday, like I said at the beginning of this, today is our easiest of the 3 days of calculation. All you have to keep in mind is that it's 14 minus whatever you have to get the other one. So in your practice today, I'm going to ask you to either calculate a pH from an H+ concentration or a pOH from an OH minus concentration, and then to give me the opposite one. So it's actually going to require 2 steps. It's going to require the step that we worked on the last 2 days, and then it's going to require that subtraction step that we just added today. I'll write out an example for you. I'll put it on one of the slides, and then I'll give you the opportunity to do a couple of practices before your exit ticket or your understanding check. Today is the last lesson of the week, so if you need to spend tomorrow getting caught up on anything, you've got that flex day there, so you can go back and work on any assignments that you missed. Or if you'd rather, you can retake any understanding checks that you didn't feel like you did as well on as you could have. Grades should be completely up to date in Infinite Campus, so that should give you a pretty good idea of where you're standing right now and what you need to make up. See you later.